And it has to do with, or it's related to being able to see that there are thoughts that are juicy and tasty and nutritious, and there are thoughts that are actually not helpful, not helpful. And the capacity to recognize that there are these kinds of thoughts and that we actually have some choice about which thoughts to promote or which thoughts to fertilize. So from my perspective, the capacity to observe our thoughts and then make wise choices is connected to awareness. And most of the time, when I'm not aware, it's because my attention is with a series of thoughts that may not have anything to do with the situation that I'm in. So what I want us to practice today is a form of concentration, developing awareness and sustaining awareness in a way that is, it's a form of training. And at least for me, as this particular training progresses, it becomes more and more interesting. More and more interesting. So I'm going to describe the practice, and then we're going to see if there are any questions, and then we'll do it together. A couple of comments about this practice before I describe it. One is, I don't think this practice is easy. Let's put it differently. I think this practice is difficult. But I want you to get that you have support in this context that you don't if you're on your own. Like, you've got us that are here, and we're going to be doing this practice with you. You've got me who's willing to take charge of the beginning, the middle, and the end of the practice. And you can rely on me to let you know when it's done, instead of checking the time. You don't need to do that. I'll do that for you. And hopefully, the introduction that I'm giving to you is inspiring enough for you to give your whole commitment to this practice for as long as we do it. So, what is the commitment in this practice? It's really simple. You don't give up. Repeat. The commitment is you don't give up. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to start counting our breaths from 49 to 0. Let's say at 48 breaths, I'm sorry, the first breath, now you're from 49, now you're at 48. You forget what you're doing. Completely normal. Completely normal. That doesn't matter. What matters is that you estimate where you think you are, 47, maybe 46, maybe 45, it doesn't really matter, but you pick one number and you continue the practice. Now at 40, let's say you forget again what you're doing. No problem. But if you watch your mind going, you know what? I can't do this. This is too difficult. And by the way, it's also too boring. In fact, this practice is stupid. I'm not doing this. And you remember the one agreement, the one commitment is you don't give up. And so you say, okay, I'm going to go back in. Now, what number am I at? Is it 48? No, I think it's closer to 39. No, I don't think we're in the 30s yet. Okay, we're going to start at 40. Greg said, guess is good enough. So, okay, 40. Here's what's like, it's vital that you don't give up and you work it from your side to stay in the practice. And working it means you guess what number you're at. Being accurate in this situation doesn't matter. Being accurate doesn't matter. Staying in the game matters. Okay, so let's say you're at 3, then 2, then 1. First of all, when you get to about 10, like there's this sense of power, maybe pride, maybe like, oh my gosh, I'm on it. Like we're getting there. And you know you're on the home stretch. From 10 to 0 is pretty easy, especially compared from 49. So you're like, you're sliding into home base. When you're at 3 and 2 and 1, and you're there with full awareness, full connection to what's happening, it feels so good. It feels so good. And I want you to get a sense of that feeling. That's important today, that you get a sense of finishing this practice. Yeah, okay. And there's one more statement that I wanted to make, and this is coming from the Buddha. 2,500 years ago, the Buddha said some version of this statement. If you pay attention to your breath, you will notice your very last breath. Or to put it differently, you will be aware, you will be awake for your very last breath. This person thinks that's fascinating. Like, hooray, I want to be there. Like, what happens next? Like, wow. This, like, my curiosity just kind of explodes around that. Okay, so for those of us that find that inspiring, to be present for that transition out of life into who knows what, the practice we're about to do is one way to develop your capacity for a future event that I believe will be momentous. Okay, so here's the actual details of what we're doing. I want to talk about precisely what you're counting. It goes like this. At the end of the exhalation, that's where you're particularly awake, and you pause there. Sooner or later, the inhalation is going to overpower any resistance, any pushing away, any pause. Sooner or later, that inhalation will come into your body. That's what you count. This is not a race. It's not about who gets to 0 first. In fact, when you're working in this way, as you get into your exhalation and you pause there, I want you to hold your hand a little taut like this. And then sooner or later, oh, Zoom is going to make your hand go up digitally. That's okay. Sooner or later, that inhalation is going to come, and let it reflect in the hand like this. I don't know if you can see that there's this tension in the hand at the bottom of the exhalation. And then okay, so would you lift your hand up and just practice a couple of breaths like that? So at the bottom of the exhalation, the hand becomes taut, fingers pressing away from each other. When the inhalation comes in, the hand softens. Pretty simple. But adding the hand is one little device that helps us stay connected to what we're doing. Okay, so your hands can go down for now. I want to talk briefly about why this is important. If you recall, some of the home practices that we've done, like write down 10 gratitudes or enjoy your cup of tea, if your mind is like mine, it's really easy for my mind to slip away from what? From gratitude or from enjoyment. Like, oh, too bad for me. My mind's slipping away from enjoyment? Oh my goodness. So what we're doing is we're developing the capacity to focus our attention and then sustain our attention. And this is important for enjoying life, for enjoying a meal, for enjoying a conversation. So we will be developing our power of focus, which I call deliberate orientation of your attention. Quite a bit different than having rumination or obsession with thinking. Deliberate orientation of attention. And by the way, this isn't just, it's not the same as weightlifting. Like you're doing all these reps to get stronger or better. Because as you go further and further into this practice and your attention is honing in on the breath, the process becomes so interesting, so beautiful in a way. But you don't know that if you're not zooming in as best you can with focused attention. So for you, it might happen in breath in the 40s or the 30s or the 20s. For me, it happens more in the 20s. And then again from 10 to 0. Okay, so here's the last piece of instruction before I check in with questions. Pause at the bottom of the exhalation. Count when the inhalation comes. What if you forget? No problem. No problem. You just estimate, take a guess at where you are and get back on the saddle. Okay, are there any questions or comments? Yeah, Kevin Howe. What's up?
What you might have said it and I just missed it. What number do you want us to start at?
49. Okay. Okay, well, it seems like nobody else has got questions, so come into a posture that seems appropriate for you to be able to do this practice. Notice what's already here. The pressure of your body against the chair. the air touching your skin. Every once in a while you can hear sounds like my voice. And notice breathing is already happening. What we're going to do is bring our attention to something that's already here and manipulate the breath a little bit by zooming in on the bottom of the exhalation and pausing there, which we usually don't do. Okay, so when you're ready, bring the hand up if you, bring your hand up and at least do this for a little while to see if it's interesting and helpful. At the bottom of the exhalation, press the palm forward. And when the inhalation comes, soften the hand and count down from 49. Then you're at the next one. So this is a practice. It's a form of training. Give as much attention to this as you can. If you forget what number you're on, no problem. Guess and keep on going. So many different things will show up in your awareness. If one arm and hand is getting tired, you can change. If you notice boredom, you can dial up your curiosity by extending the pause at the bottom of the exhalation. Examine or discover or inquire into those sensations that happen. As you stay with the process, you might notice your mind relaxing a little bit more, and settling in and settling down. Like calm pools of water in a stream. Explore minimizing mental activity, allowing for the openness of awareness. as best you can, stay with the practice. Don't give up. If you're at a number that is higher than 10, would you please jump down to 10? And when you're finished with counting your inhalations, then let your hand settle, and that will be a sign to me that you're done. And if you're done, notice how awareness is soft and open, accessible, attentive, awake. So if your hand is down, you're breathing, let it happen on its own again, just like you let your heart beat. its own. Releasing any manipulation or particular doing around your breath. And non-direction for your awareness. But not getting caught up with any particular thing you're aware of. Letting awareness be like an empty space into which things emerge, stay for a moment or two, and dissolve. The last part of this meditation is to consider that anything your awareness notices is not you. It may be a sensation. It may be a thought, but it's not you. Explore for a moment or two, becoming aware of awareness itself. And then explore letting that awareness be you. Experiment with labeling the presence of awareness, labeling that I. So in about 40 seconds, we'll end this practice. What's happening now? Whatever is in your field of awareness, imagine bowing to that object, whatever that is. As you straighten up from your bow, bring the two hands into Anjali before your heart and pause in this posture and consider that the practice we just did is something human beings have been training themselves to do, some version of that for generations and generations. And that for some people, this kind of awareness, developing awareness itself, is a sacred process. For whatever good has shown up for you within this practice, let there be gratitude and acknowledgement. And then with your next exhalation, let your hands come slowly down to wherever they'll be comfortable. And if your eyes have been closed, flutter them open, reconnect with the location. Use your eyes and your ears to say, oh yeah, yep, I recognize this place. And with this fresh awareness, come back into the relationship online with your computer and the images and your camera.